body.
Grief Karga said you were coming.
What else did he say?
He said you were the best in the parsec. Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
You are a Mandalorian. Your ancestors rode the great mythosaur.
Your name will be legendary.
I don't know if you heard, but the Empire is gone.
We have you 4-1.
I like those odds.
Hello and welcome to Mandalorian Minute, a Who Watches podcast about the Disney Plus series The Mandalorian. I'm Travis Fishburne.
I'm Alex Brunel.
And I'm Dustin Meadows.
And I'm Ryan DeVere.
And this week we are going to be covering Chapter 15, The Believer. Alex, what were you thinking about this episode?
I dug this. I had a lot of fun. It did seem... My only thing, like, a lot of really cool stuff happened in this episode. There's a lot to talk about. I think the only fault in it lied in the fact that, like, every other episode that preceded it this season has given us, like, a lot to chew on. And I don't think we have as much to chew on in this episode, but that's only because we've been, like, very spoiled so far. So I dug overall. I mean, the other thing is I thought, too, like, a little bit, like, this could have been a thing that was, like, blah-blahed over and happened in between episodes, except there were, just a couple things that they wanted to show as, like, a real plot point on TV, and so it became a 40-minute thing. But I enjoyed, and Bill Burr was a blast again to have back. Some real fun action. Yeah, thumbs up. Not thumbs like as hugely up, but like the moments that were great were like super great. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had seen somebody post. Actually, I'd seen a friend of the show, Jermaine, say that it was kind of a filler episode prior to me seeing it, and I had that kind of mindset going in. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can see that. However, like it's still like really.
It's a high quality
awesome
filler episode.
Oh, yeah.
It's really only because like every other episode of the season has been so freaking boffo, where it's like, what? There's Ahsoka, and she said Grand Admiral Thrawn, and now Boba Fett's here, and like, and there's just so much to compute. And then like also coming the day after we learned that we're getting more Star Wars than anybody could possibly want in the next 10 years. It felt like, you know, bounty and then just like, all right, let's just chill for Friday night.
Yeah. Let's just all sit down in the mess hall and have a really tense conversation. Ryan, what do you think of this episode?
I'm with Alex. Like this episode kind of came and went, and I was like, wow, that seemed like a really short episode. I bet that was like just over 30 minutes. Like we're moving places. Nothing super important to the series is happening, although we're building out, you know, Bill Burr apparently is I'm sure we'll see more of him, right? But I don't know, like last season when the team started to like come together, right, at the end of the season, it was like big and monumentous, and this just kind of felt like it happened. It just kind of pulled together really seamlessly.
Yeah. And then Dustin, as a fan of the Rick Famuyiwa episode from last season, what were your thoughts on this episode?
Yeah, I might be kind of the dissenting voice here. I really like this episode. To me, it kind of is on par with the Fly episode of Breaking Bad, where I feel like a lot of people aren't going to like it because they're like, nothing happens. It's like, no, so much happens. It's just not plot heavy and action driven.
Sure.
Like the stuff with Bill Burr's character alone is really great. Like that's the kind of payoff we should have gotten with John Boyega's Finn in Rise of Skywalker.
Yep.
Like we should have been getting stuff like this from a formal Imperial who feels terrible about the things they've been party to. And this was just, instead of being like, like information heavy and bombarding us with all the lore stuff. This was just very character driven, and it was a great episode. I loved it. Bill Burr did a fantastic job, and I'm excited to see that character again.
Mhm.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the episode for sure, but this felt like this episode felt like the Rogue One to the rest of the saga, right?
I see that, but I don't think it's filler. I really don't. I think it's giving us an opportunity to breathe and actually like kind of get a little more immersed in the lives of these characters and their backstory. And frankly, after all the stuff we've had dumped on us this season, this was kind of a breath of fresh air. I was like, I don't know how much more extra stuff I can handle. Like, they've given us so much. Like Alex said, we've been spoiled with all the stuff they've thrown at us in the last 6 episodes leading up to this. So to just have an episode where we can kind of be with the characters without having names dropped left and right and all this other stuff, it was a nice departure from that. And I really dug it. So I don't know if it's going to be my favorite this season, but it's still a really solid episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, it's. I think just Rick Famuyiwa is doing a really great job, and I wish that he could have directed more than one. As of right now, we are at the end of the directors list, so somebody's going to direct twice. I suspect the finale is going to be Favreau, but don't know for sure.
I would
Surprise drop
that.
in from George Lucas.
Mm-hmm. Oh, surprise!
Hey guys, I brought Jar Jar.
I get to make a Star Wars again.
Yeah, that could happen. Anything's possible. Ryan and Dustin, we got some brief thoughts of from you guys as far as the announcements that came out of last Thursday go. But did you want to expand any more on some of the craziness that's going on?
It's a lot between this and the Marvel drop last week. Like, good God. I mean, and Alex even said something about this when we were talking amongst ourselves before you guys talked about it. But like, we're definitely hitting an oversaturation point, I feel like. But at the same time, if Filoni's involved, even tangentially in all of these, I think at the worst, they're going to be okay and worth watching at least once. So it's a lot, but I mean, if it sucks, I just won't watch it again. I'm at the point now where, as a Star Wars fan, for the most part, I can just move on from something if I don't need to mess with it anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, we've been abused in one way or another for many years now, and we can take it.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Dustin's philosophy is how I think the world at large feels about Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, speaking of being a Star Wars fan and abused in one way or another, tune in to our holiday special.
This Thursday.
This Thursday.
One of my unabashedly favorite things in the Star Wars universe.
It's
that
unique.
I don't think is good, but is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say, I don't know that I have anything major else to add, but it just seems like a lot of Star Wars. I'm excited about a lot of these directions, but I think we've talked about this before. It does seem like they're kind of picking a genre and then going, all right, who do we have in the toy box to put in a spy thriller or in a quirky comedy or, like, I don't know. I hope that there are more hits than misses, but I'm sure there will be some misses in this.
No.
I think something to be mindful of too, like how many of those are actually dropping in 2021?
Almost none.
Oh, I don't think any of them.
Yeah, so that's the other thing too, is like when they drop all of that at once, everybody's like, oh, that's too much, but then it's like, how much of this are we actually going to see?
Yeah, so we're going to see all that stuff probably unfold over the course of the next like 6-7 years, I would think.
Yeah, so like to me, it's like, good on them for locking this stuff down, but I feel like it's misleading to front load like a drop like that, because the Marvel stuff is the same way. Like, I think 2 or 3 of the things that they announced are premiering in 2021, which still leaves like 7 or 8 other things. So it's like, maybe just say it's like, hey, we're dropping these 3, and then a week later is like, and this is what you got to look forward to after that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think honestly, it'll be totally manageable. It's one of those things where you see it all at once, and I think everyone's gut reaction is like, this is too much. This is way too much. That was my reaction. But knowing that we're not even going to see all this probably in the next 2 or 3 years even is like, I can breathe a little easier knowing that we don't have to do 6 different versions of this podcast in a year just about Star Wars stuff.
But that's the point that they're trying to get to, where there's a new Star Wars on every week. It really feels like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that by the time we get to like 2025, we will have like 52 weeks of new Star Wars content.
I mean, my hope is that by that time, some like stuff like Mandalorian has. I'll be sad to see it go, but that like some of the earlier stuff will have wrapped or is wrapping up by that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One thing that is actually dropping probably sometime in the next year before we get Mandalorian, season 3 is The Bad Batch, which they did release a trailer for. And I didn't even get to bring this up in our show on Thursday, Alex, but Fennec Shan is in there.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah,
what is The Bad Batch? Is that their Suicide Squad? Like
kinda.
No, it's kind of like Clone Troopers Expendables. Like
A-Team,
think of like, a broad 80s action team ensemble, and then make them Clone Troopers. There's like the scientist, there's the brute, there's the sharpshooter, there's
I mean, I'm not necessarily mad about that.
Yeah.
Because I haven't watched the trailer for it. So right now, the only context I have for The Bad Batch is that it's a movie with Keanu Reeves that came out a few years ago.
No,
so
not that one.
in a Star Wars, and I figured it wasn't that. So in a Star Wars context, I have zero idea what it is. So I'm not mad about that. I'm fine with action stuff.
So we've got all that to look forward to, and so I guess in the meantime we can jump right into this episode.
Yeah.
Where we begin on a prison planet. We see Mayfeld. He gets pulled from duty by Cara Dune and is taken aboard Slave One.
There's so much great stuff in this scene. Like, the opening shot of this scene is so great. Just like prisoners trawling the wreckage of Imperial ships and trying to salvage whatever they can. Loved that imagery a lot. Bill Burr's reaction when Boba Fett, he's like, "Oh, I thought you were another guy," and then Mando comes out. It's like so great. I guess Boba had a good opportunity to give his armor a fresh paint job on the trip.
Yeah, he did. And that really threw me off for a while. I was like, "This is weird looking."
It looked good, but it seemed like, I don't know, was ship an autopilot? Will you guys have time? Like,
Yeah,
I'm sure they probably did.
I guess so.
This opening scene, all I could think of, and again, this is just tied to how much I played the Shadows of the Empire game when it came out. All I could think of was the Ord Mantell level. In that, 'cause it's just the junkyard planet. Yeah, and that's all I could. I knew that this wasn't that, but it gave me a kind of nice little warm feeling and nostalgia seeing that opening shot. And like Alex said, some really great visuals in this.
Yeah, when they're walking away and you see the Slave One parked in the background, you're like, "Oh,
yeah."
I mean, I knew this was coming, but still, it's very cool to see that ship.
Yeah, and I also like that like Boba Fett in this episode is just kind of unceremoniously still with us. It's just like, we're not making a big deal out of Boba Fett anymore. Boba Fett is just in the show. Like, he had his showcase, we did that, and now he's a character that we get to play with.
Yeah, we've gone from Boba Fett to Boba Fett.
I do like the black like cowl underneath. It's got definitely a new presence, with the sharper colors, the repaint.
Yeah, he got rid of the vest too.
Yeah.
So we've seen like 4 different iterations of that armor this season now. Like 4 different modelings.
Yeah, that's true. Keeping it fresh, I guess.
But like, this scene's fun, just the Republic prison break / not really, like just borrowing a guy.
They just ask permission. Yeah.
Yeah.
We get to learn.
It seemed like they could have.
His designation is 34667 quite a few times.
Yeah, that droid was very persistent.
Yeah. They. It seemed like they could have swooped in and grabbed him. I don't know that they needed permission.
Well, but Cara Dune is she's the man now. She's got the badge. She's got to play by the rules to an extent.
Yep.
So then the crew they tell Mayfeld that they need his help infiltrating an Imperial facility to locate Moff Gideon. He tells them, "Oh, it should be one of those terminals on Morak that I can use."
Sure, why not?
So it's just a real quick setup scene inside the Slave One, but not too much else, except for we get to see how the Slave One works on the inside, which was so cool.
That was pretty cool. I was definitely in for more stuff going on inside, and I'm still amused by like just the commitment to the asinine design of the ship, where like if Boba Fett is parked, he's like laying on his back and then he takes off. It's great. There's not like they didn't try to do something like, oh, there's a rotating seat that locks into place when he lifts off, so he's never at a weird angle.
I mean, that's what I assumed as a kid, that it's like, oh, it's got to, right? Who's laying on their back to take off? But
Boba Fett.
Yep.
It's just what we
just
do.
rolling out of
the
bed when he
ship
gets
only
out.
goes straight up.
It was that was one of those George Lucas calls back in 2002 where they're like, we're gonna stick with it. Not
Thanks.
the only one this episode.
That's true. And the other moment I think you're talking about, I actually enjoyed very much.
Yeah. So then we go to Morak, and as soon as we go to Morak, I am immediately, I've got John Williams' Jurassic Park theme in my head, because this looks like Isla Nublar.
It kind of does, yeah.
I mean, for sure they used just Hawaii as the footage that they used for that scene.
Must have, yeah.
Yeah. Feels like Lost.
Yeah, so then they hijack an Imperial transport and the armor of the drivers. And then, well, before we get there...
Yeah, Mando reluctantly changes out his Beskar for, like, the crappiest of Stormtrooper armor that we've ever seen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like Bill is just, like, 3D printing these things in the back, and you just got to go pick one up and hope it doesn't shatter on your way to the very explosive fuel transports.
Yeah, which he finds out later during combat when one of the pieces of armor does shatter on him.
That's the thing I want to talk about in the fight scene, just how he is. It's really good. Was there another thing you wanted to mention? Sorry.
Oh, I would say I really love the whole setup while they're talking about, all right, we got to go in the terminal. It's going to scan your face. Fennec Shan can do it. No, Fennec Shan can't. And then he like throws it to Boba Fett, and Boba Fett just says,
Fett, let's just say they might recognize my face.
Yep.
which I really like that line.
Yeah.
Also, would that really complicate things? Because wouldn't they just see I don't know.
Well, if there's no more clones in the ranks,
of?
then it would be weird, right?
Yeah, that's
mean,
kind of how
we're-
I took that.
Yeah.
We're like 15 years out from the end of the Clone Wars, right?
Yeah. There's so many questions about this terminal, though. Like, is it on the lookout for,
What is
young
its purpose? 'Cause
clone faces? Is it?
Yeah. It's clearly not only like certified faces. It's not like a biometric.
We can't get into the terminal yet. We're not in the part of the episode of the terminal yet. But the terminal is just whack. The terminal is whack.
It's
Talking about the Steven Spielberg film.
plot device.
The terminal, the Steven Spielberg film, is a good film. The terminal, the whole situation of this episode, I have very mixed feelings about, but we'll get there.
We'll get there eventually. We get Cara Dune doing about
The Cara Dune
busting
thing.
some skulls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing a Cara Dune thing. Yep. We get the armor. And
Yep.
we see briefly Bill Burr, Mayfield is wearing a helmet that just disappears off the face of the episode.
He wears a helmet for all of like 5 seconds while they're driving in the cave, and then he's like, I'm taking it off.
Yeah.
Not even going to try.
When they do eventually get to the place and he doesn't put his helmet back on, I was thinking, put your helmet back on, dude. They're going to think something's weird. You're the only one not wearing a helmet. What are you doing?
Yeah.
That has to be like a contract thing, right? Like he's like, no, I want my face
personally, in there. I wouldn't be wearing that helmet unless I was in active combat. Because he's absolutely right. Your peripherals garbage in those things.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. But like everyone that's just like eating lunch is still wearing their helmets.
Yeah, there's a shore trooper with a tray that still has his helmet on.
Like, have fun being able to see the same amount that a horse with blinders on is able to see.
I think that the weak point of this entire episode is just helmets. In all the ways that can be taken, I think that's the weak point of this episode.
Yeah. One interesting thing about these driver troopers is that the helmet is from Rogue One. It's the tank driver helmet from Rogue One, but the armor is different from the tank drivers in Rogue One. It's the mud troopers from Solo. So they like did a little mix and match with the troopers to make this.
So this is interesting. I mean, like, I like a lot when Star Wars design does this, when it pulls pieces from different things, reassembles. I mean, Moff Gideon's kind of the same way, right? I mean, his outfit is kind of reassembled from other stuff that we've seen in other forms before. But yeah, and this is like another iteration of that. And I always thought that the Mud Trooper armor was weird, but like it seems like it's just like low grade trooper armor.
Yeah, the chest piece there, that's something even that dates further back into Empire Strikes Back. General Veers is wearing that on Hoth.
That's right. Veers is wearing that kind of armor.
And that's the thing too with this planet. This seems like one of the few places where the armor might actually effectively work as camouflage, since they're on a forest planet.
Yeah, much better than the Scout Trooper outfits on Endor.
Like, hey, what if we just gave them a clear target in the midst of all this green? Like, Hoth is the only place where that armor works as camouflage.
That's true.
Yeah. So, then they go on the road and then have a nice philosophical conversation.
Oh, yeah. They go through the village. I really like this. This is another one of the scenes I was kind of talking about, where the vibe I get as they're going through the village, it's like a right after the U.S. is withdrawn from Vietnam kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Except the Empire's obviously clearly still there. But yeah, that was really great. And I think that gave us a lot more insight into Mayfeld's character as well.
Yeah.
Because like before it's like, yeah, he's former Imperial, he's a mercenary. But during that scene, it's like, oh, okay, this guy's actually, yeah, he tried to screw Mando over, but he's not completely a terrible, remorseless person.
Right. He has a conscience.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was interesting. The thing, and then we get to the battle, right? Like quickly after this, there's pirates attacking these unstable fuel transports for no discernible reason other than to just stop them, it seems.
Yeah, they're using the term pirates, but you almost wonder if this is, they're somehow affiliated with the former rebellion,
right?
Or something along those lines.
Yeah,
anarchists.
I feel like guerrilla forces, rebels is way more accurate.
Yeah,
because pirates would be trying to steal the Rhydonium, not destroy it.
Right.
Yeah,
and I thought the action here was great. I really like the fight choreography. I really like Mando throughout this. But it did strike me as weird that it's like, to me, it feels like these guys are good guys, and you're just blowing them all up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is what's happening. But they didn't know that. Because as far as the Empire is, they call them pirates. Maybe if Mando had more time to look into it, he'd be like, oh, wait, I don't know if I necessarily.
Right, like I don't know what the other way out of that situation was.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, like what do you do? Explain to him like, hey, I'm actually against the Empire. I'm just dressed like one of them right now.
Right.
If you could not throw a detonator into the highly volatile stuff that we're hauling right now, and just
I'm
like,
actually a
let me rap at you a
Mandalorian.
minute.
I'm trying to say, he brings a blackboard with him and just writes it out.
Yeah.
Listen,
Well, and then the other thing too. Well, we'll get to that at the end of the fight. Sorry, go ahead and say.
Well, no, just like the fight scene was a lot of fun. It was one of those like, it wasn't quite as absurd as like the Keith David Roddy Piper fight scene in They Live, but it was that same kind of thing where it's just like, oh, it just keeps happening.
Yeah.
Like the scene just keeps happening. it's relentless.
Like, I mean, it's kind of like Mad Max, and it's also it very much reminded me of the truck sequence in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh,
which
yeah,
is one of my
for
favorite
sure.
action set pieces of all
For
time,
sure.
where it's like it just keeps going and going.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when he knocks the dude down onto the tires, that's great. I dig this because this is probably the closest we're gonna get to like a train top fight ever.
Exactly.
In this
Yeah,
whole
I mean,
series.
this is the train heist episode of the Western that is Mandalorian.
That's true. Which I just want to say we had in Solo, but whatever.
Hey, I was a
probably
fan
the
of
most-
that part of Solo.
Yeah, that was the most entertaining part of Solo, in my
love
opinion.
Solo. But I loved Mando in this scene. I loved him, like, for the first time in God knows how long, actually having to deal with being in a fight where he's at all vulnerable. And he's like, oh, right, things hurt.
Yeah, seeing him get knocked on his butt by the one dude, like right when his armor gets shattered, that was great. Because I know earlier on an earlier episode I mentioned kind of that Wolverine factor where he doesn't really have to consider danger too often when he rushes into a fight.
Right.
Because he's laser proof, explosion proof, just about everything proof.
Yeah.
Lightsaber
But
proof.
seeing him actually kind of have to like not just sit there and take shots and hits over to actually have to kind of put some method into his fighting beyond just shooting a bunch of whistling birds or whatever at people.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
I also like that Pedro got to show off some of his spear skills.
Yeah, I got that over in Martell action.
Yeah,
That was pretty cool.
reminding people, hey, we got that Beskar spear still to use.
Don't forget the stick, guys. We got a stick.
He hasn't used it once yet.
Not
Like,
yet.
he just picks it up and looks at it a lot.
It's been very heavily set up, but unused.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be using it next episode against Moff Gideon.
Oh, did you guys also notice he does have his jetpack back?
Oh,
In this
I didn't pay
episode?
attention to that.
He does have his pack
interesting.
before he loses it, when taking off the suit. But he does have his pack at the beginning.
Yeah. And now it's chilling in that duffel bag.
Yep.
I also noticed that Boba had his jetpack off at one point as well, which I thought was interesting.
Mandalorian.
Well, he does need to take it off, I think, when he flies, which I think is what was about to happen.
Yeah, you probably can't sit in that seat with the pack on, huh?
It's not
Be real uncomfortable.
Something else that we've not really talked about yet, but like it's established last episode that that Boba is a foundling. Jango is a foundling, at least, and yet Boba Fett does not seem to hold the same beliefs. I don't know, like the mask, the helmet coming off and on, like we see in this episode earlier, he's got the helmet off, and like it just is not a big deal to him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
that wasn't a
Jango
big
does
deal to
that too.
Django either. Yeah,
Right. And so the definition of what a foundling is seems to also have a broad meaning.
Well, but he was a
too.
foundling of a different sect, I think, right?
Yeah.
I think it was. Did he name the sect that he was?
he didn't. Somebody has deciphered the Arabesh that's in that code that pops up there,
Of course.
and I think it gives you that info, which I do not have on me right now. But
Sure.
if you want to look into that, it's the info's
out
there.
Yeah. Anyway, just a brief aside, but
So yeah, they're up against the ropes, and then all of a sudden the cavalry shows up in the form of the Empire, and
TIE fighters are cavalry.
yeah,
Well, right before they attempt to suicide bomb the transport,
They do,
which is
yeah.
the other argument for them not being pirates.
Right.
Hey, we'll enjoy this treasure in Valhalla.
And always good to see thermal detonators. We know thermal detonators. We like thermal detonators.
Oh yeah, they're a fun time.
It translates.
So yeah, they
And they're welcomed with a hero's welcome.
exactly. You get to see all the troopers just saluting them, and you see a whole range of them. You see the shore troopers, which it makes sense on this planet. You see regular stormtroopers, and then you see a bunch of just, if you're looking, you got a bunch of real cruddy looking stormtroopers. And I was just thinking throughout this, I'm like, they took, I mean, because they have complete access to the entire like costume archives and everything. So like they've got a mix of the Rogue One stormtroopers and shore troopers, plus this mix and mash thing they're doing with the other troopers. And then I think a few of those stormtrooper costumes are probably the remnant stormtroopers that we saw at the beginning of this series that were with the Werner Herzog client.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we first got introduced to stormtroopers in this series, it gave the impression that the Empire was really like an afterthought at this point. They're barely able to scrap 5 guys together, and they're all in dusty, dirty armor. But then the last, like most of this season, we've run into real resistance, and they have outposts, and they have bases and bunkers, and it's hard to get a grasp of like what is still Empire or not.
Well, we gotta imagine that they never actually fully went away if the First Order is such a thing by the time we get to Force Awakens, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of that stuff still has to be in place, and I'm sure that there was a lot of like I think it was talked about. I think like Herzog's character talked about it, where like a lot of Imperials probably just like stayed on the planets that they were and tried to just like institute, you know, like martial law with them in charge and this kind of thing. And I think that's probably what Mando is more commonly seeing, because he's not going to planets that have Imperial, Imperial bases still operating on them.
Yeah.
You know, he only knows what he goes to. Like it really seems like he knows a lot, but what he knows is also very limited to like exactly where he's been. And it's not like he has a hugely broad universe view of reality, I think.
Well, and a lot of these places seem way more remote too.
Yeah.
Like it's not like he's going to some place like Coruscant,
Right.
and there's a heavy Imperial presence there. It's like all these places on the reaches, like, and I mean, especially like the most well-known place he's gone to is Tatooine, which is a hole anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So
The truest hole.
So Mayfeld gets ready to do the job that he was hired to do, and he recognizes a guy named Valen Hess, who is an Imperial officer that he used to serve under. So he refuses to go do the job, and Mando volunteers to go in, and then we get to see Pedro Pascal's beautiful face.
So here's the thing. Because here's an Alex Burnell rant. So here's the thing. So the machine that he needs, the terminal he needs, is in the corner of this mess hall, and there's other Imperial officers eating, including this guy that Bill Burr knows, and he decides he can't do it because the machine needs to scan a face. So Mando goes over, and it scans his helmet. It's like, must scan face or system will do something bad in 10 seconds.
like lockout, I think.
Yeah, like what? Yep. Okay, and then you have to call IT.
Yep.
But like, so he reluctantly takes off his helmet and lets it scan his face. What is this computer scanning for? What is, like, I understand the emotional context and the emotional point of this scene, which is that Din will do anything to get the child back, and that is what we need to know as an audience, and it's an effective way to communicate it. But I really don't understand. Just like, it feels like a lazy mechanic to get that to happen. To just have a machine that needs to see a face. It's not checking the face against a database. It just makes sure that you have a face on your head.
But it is checking against a database. It's just
checking
You
against like
happen
who
to
it
not
shouldn't
be in there,
be.
no big deal.
Right. It's checking who it shouldn't be, not who it should be. So like, if you're not in the like your wanted database, you're not going to ping. And it's like, I don't know if that's the way that system should work.
Yeah, because I mean, part of that, I mean, I feel like the whole reason they brought Mayfield along was so that he could access it.
Right.
because he has, and they even say like he knows the protocols and like the like login credentials and all that stuff, and then Mando ends up doing it. This is one point I will concede. This is probably the only weak spot in the episode for me.
Mhm.
But yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It was
Very
brought
poor
up.
security.
Yeah. Right before we kind of went on, somebody brought up like it just has to be some human face. And I'm like, oh, well that puts it in a good context for me because the Empire is notoriously xenophobic. So any species that aren't human really aren't part of the Empire usually. Thrawn was an outlier of that.
Yeah.
So
Really the only exception that we know of, right?
yeah. So like to me, some good headcanon for that is making sure that it's human. But
I mean, I see
very-
that, but that's still a huge security flaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
the majority of the Rebel Alliance.
what it is is
humans.
it's simply a weak plot point, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that being said, Pedro Pascal's performance throughout the entire scene when he's unmasked is like really fantastic.
Oh yeah, that entire scene is great.
It's really, really great. This whole scene is so fantastic. All the performances all around are like really fantastic. Rick did a great job with the directing. But and like stuff like I saw this pointed out today where like I didn't really notice this so much, but I looked at the scene again and yeah, Din is still like basically acting like he's wearing the helmet. He doesn't use his eyes to communicate at all during that scene. He is simply like moving his head slightly, and because that's how he's used to communicating. So it's like a really nice carryover performance, a really great job on Pascal's part that I enjoyed a lot. And Bill Burr's speech and like this scene is great. This is a freaking great
The
scene.
whole thing, and Hess too. Richard Brake, playing Hess in the scene. He is such an amazing character actor, and he's so good at doing a lot with almost nothing every time I've seen him. Like even as Travis is set up, even as Joe Chill in Batman Begins, he has 2 scenes in that whole movie, and he's great in both of them. To the point that like Batman Begins is what I recognize Richard Brake from every time I see him. And he's been in all kinds of other stuff. The terrible Doom movie with The Rock, which he's not bad in, despite that movie being awful. And even recently in Mandy, he's in it for like a few minutes, and he's great in the one scene that he has.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Yeah, he's the dude with the tiger towards the end.
Right.
But yeah, he's phenomenal, and this scene is great. Like this scene, again, like I said earlier, like this is the kind of insight we should have got into Finn. Like this is the kind of arc that character should have had, and the entire time that like this scene is going, like you can feel the tension building, which again is testament to the actors in here and to the direction. But like even though we kind of know where it's gonna go by the time Burr hits the halfway point through the speech, like once it gets there, you're still just like, oh, okay, I guess this is what we're doing. Like it's just a great scene.
Yeah,
it perfectly builds the tension. And it honestly, like in terms of tension building, this and the showdown between Mando and Michael Biehn a couple episodes ago is probably like the best examples of those we've gotten this season at least.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We last season we got these great cameos from comedians just like throughout the whole season. And this season we've gotten really great cameos from just the villains. We had Titus Welliver. Welliver. A couple episodes back, just a really brief little snippet. We're not going to see from him again. Then we get this season or this episode we get Richard Brake. And like it's pretty
Nope, I'm still here, don't worry.
You're still here. Okay. We've had some really solid representation from the villains and like interesting just one-off little characters.
Yeah, and even in those, like, even though they're cameo roles, we're getting amazing performances out of them.
Totally.
Yes.
Like, these guys could come in and just, like, I'm going to be in this show for 2 minutes and just completely phone it in. Not that I think Favreau and Filoni and whoever's directing would allow that, but, like, they're putting the kind of investment in these short appearances that you would get out of an actor, like, in a major film.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, that's just a great testament to the quality of this show. There's like, hey, Richard Brake, we're going to do your scenes in one day. You're going to have, honestly, maybe 5 minutes of screen time by the time it's all said and done. Okay, I'm going to knock it out of the park now. So just let me know when we're rolling, Chief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Pretty much.
you know, this scene is really is where we just learn more and fully form, like, Bill Burr's conscience, right? They're talking about really the cost of the war and yeah, the human toll, the real, like, or not necessarily human, but just like the sentient life toll that this war takes, and that this officer is just like, yeah, we're gonna do it again because we're the freaking best, and that's what it takes.
Yeah, it's not to invoke Whedon, but I definitely got shades of Firefly in this scene too.
Sure, yeah.
But it was interesting because this time it was all coming from people who were on the same side of it. So it was a nice little turn on that.
If we invoke Joss Whedon, does that mean he shows up to ruin a thing?
Only if we say his name 5 times.
He's the director of the final episode. Yeah.
Oh, no, thank you.
Just changed this past week. He went in for reshoots.
Yeah. We get a good shot.
Justice
a panning
League
shot
jokes.
Of all They had to paint out Pedro Pascal's mustache. Speaking of which, he has a mustache. Why is Din Djarin shaving to have a mustache?
I happened to watch like 45 seconds of an interview with Pedro Pascal today where he talks about his mustache, and it's because like it was like he was a theater student or something, and he grew a mustache for the part. That's the only facial hair he can really grow. He doesn't grow in the sides that well. And his like director or whatever told him to like never lose the mustache. He was like told to never lose the mustache by his director or his professor or whatever. And it's like, okay. So, but also because he can't really grow the facial hair, I would not put it past Mando to just be like, that's just what he looks like when he doesn't shave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too.
I will say too, based on the snippets of footage from the upcoming Wonder Woman trailer, Pedro Pascal without a mustache, I don't like it. I don't like it one bit.
Did he have a mustache in Kingsman?
He did have a mustache because he was a cowboy.
Didn't he?
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he even had a bigger mustache in Kingsman because he was the American branch. And he was his weapon was essentially a lightsaber, but a lasso.
Yeah.
Got him this job.
Yeah. His scene also reminded me of like Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, I get that.
The way that played out. What they talk about is called Operation Cinder, which in canon, it was introduced in Battlefront 2, and it was a contingency plan by the dead emperor to ensure that the Empire and its enemies did not outlive him should he ever perish.
Wow.
So it was, to like just start taking out all of his enemies.
So it's like a scorched earth contingency plan kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like
it's a dead man switch.
Accurately named.
Particularly evil kind of plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That was all I knew. I saw somebody had posted it and mentioned that it was in reference to Battlefront 2. I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to go play those games just to get more backstory. So I think Bill Burr did a good enough job explaining to me what it was.
Yeah, we got the context enough. And the scene ends with this wonderful, tense moment where it's just like, I think Bill Burr is going to shoot this guy. And then Bill Burr totally shoots this guy. Then everyone's reaction. The moment just post that shot with Din's reaction, the other troopers, like you mentioned, the one trooper just like holding his lunch tray, like, did not expect. You know, he's like, he missed his lunch break 2.5 hours ago and he's had to fucking wait and he's...
now he's dead.
Now he's dead.
Has Bill Burr really acted in anything else?
King of Staten Island this year. And
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad. Mm-hmm.
He's in Zombievers for 2 minutes.
But he showed a pretty good range of ability in this whole episode, but this scene in particular.
Yeah, he's really solid. I was gonna say crashing, but he's playing himself in that, so I don't know how much of a stretch that is.
He's going for the Bob Odenkirk career trajectory. Where in like 3 years we're gonna see him as a downtrodden man in an action film.
Oh man. Quick aside, I can't wait for that. But let's get back to Star Wars.
I'm psyched as hell for that movie.
I will go on about that. But when are we going to get an Odenkirk in a Star Wars?
That's a great question.
Be awesome.
What would he even be?
Who cares?
A sleazy lawyer.
Yes.
Better Call Saul in space.
Better Call Salamander, and he's like a lizard creature.
Better Call Saul Guerrera.
I would love that SNL sketch. I would love like Saw Gerrera, attorney at law. I would love that.
If that's not on Disney Plus's list of titles, get at me, Disney Plus. I'll write it.
Forrest Whitaker just texted me. He's on board.
Perfect.
This is so wizard, Andy.
Something else we should bring up before this scene comes to a conclusion is the TPS reports.
Oh, the TPS reports. That was great.
Which is Office Space.
That's so great. I mean, like, as a kid, that was like my lifeblood when like that kind of stuff would come up in properties. Like, that's probably why I latched on to Kevin Smith so hard, because like those kinds of like just like pop culture reference jokes would come up. I never really expected to see it in Star Wars. And,
you don't. It's usually the other way around.
It really is. But you know what? I was for it. That's great.
I feel like we have to assume, if nothing else, Mike Judge exists within the Star Wars universe.
Yes. Yes.
Cara Dune spends her days sitting behind her desk watching King of the Hill.
And Carl Weather, what's Carl Weathers' name in the show?
Grief Karga.
He's a Beavis and Butthead kind of guy.
Oh no.
And Shenik fan is all about Daria. Or is it Fennec Shand?
Fennec Shand. Yep.
Okay. Oh right, because her name's like the little fox. Got it.
Yeah.
So then they get this. There's this big shootout, and they climb out the windows, and then they've got to get to the top of the building, and then they get picked up by the Slave One.
Yeah, Cara Dune and Fennec Shand are like sharp shooting off of the friggin' thing. They get over to the Slave One, but Bill Burr does an important thing first. He takes a shot with the cycler rifle and blows up the whole Imperial base.
Yeah.
Fires a shot right into that open panel by the Rhydonian.
Yeah, the one that they just left open when the thing parked. Just like,
seems like
oh,
a real
it's here now.
bonehead move.
We're good. Leave it.
Those pirates aren't going to try to do this.
No. But lives up to the sharpshooter name, and that was one of my favorite lines in the episode when he just gives a look to I think it was either Mando or Cara Dune when he's going back into the ship. He's like, "Got to sleep at night."
It was Mando.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like
that was a great little exchange.
Oh, and then the other thing we breezed over in the previous scene is Bill Burr telling Mando he's not going to tell anybody that he saw him without the helmet. Like that's their little secret.
Yeah. Mayfeld's a good dude.
Yeah, Mayfeld's a good dude. Well, questionably, but in this instance, good dude.
He's for the most part okay.
Yeah.
He's got a troubled past, but he's working on it.
Yeah, bright future.
I will say the biggest disappointment this episode, and I'm sure it was largely because of him having to wear the armor, is we didn't get that weird little butt gun that pops up from nowhere.
The butt gun's pretty cool, yeah.
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 So hopefully next time we see him, he'll be armor free and butt guns akimbo.
He'll have two of them this time.
He's got two of them, yeah.
And because of his good deed, they kind of just let him go. They just let him go on the planet that sucks and seems pretty
He's
desolate.
gonna just
You're stuck there.
be
now.
surviving there for
He's
a while.
gonna figure it out.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, it's like, at least drop him off somewhere.
suicide pirates.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Like his
And he's
performance-
still in the
yeah.
armor too, right? Yeah, poor guy. He's just dead on sight.
But I like his
In
his
a
little
plot point taken directly from The Rock.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I like his performance at the EDC. He's like, so I'm gonna go, right? Like I'm gonna go. Like that was funny.
He's also kind of scared at first when she's like, "That's too bad, he died back there."
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's probably running through his head.
Oh, they're gonna kill
Are they
me.
gonna? Yeah.
At the end of my usefulness.
Yeah. It was a great bit. Oh, we skipped over something before that. The TIE fighters pursue them.
Yeah.
And Boba Fett drops a seismic charge on them.
Oh, I didn't realize
Yeah.
I skipped that. I thought that happened after. That's my bad.
Nope. Yep. Happens right before that. But yeah. So we get the seismic charge from Attack of the Clones, and it's the most excited I've been to see and hear something from Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have to agree. If you're gonna ask me like what are my 3 favorite things about Attack of the Clones, one of them is the sound that the seismic charge makes.
Oh my gosh.
So
thoroughly.
that made me really happy. That's
Is the other the guy who wants to sell you death sticks?
now that you mention it, probably, yeah. I don't know what the
His
other
name
2
is
things would
literally
be.
Sleaze Bagano is the character's name.
That's got to be about one of the only times that somebody can be accused of phoning in a Star Wars name.
Thanks, George. Yeah, I don't
Hey,
know
what's
what
this villain's name? General Grievous. Okay, what about this slug thing? Jabba the Hutt. What about this drug dealer? Sleaze Bagano.
I never knew that. That's awful.
Yep.
I don't know what my other 2 favorite things about Attack of the Clones would be. I just assume there are 3 things that I like about that movie, and I know one of them is the seismic charge.
I know one of mine is the speech about killing Tusken Raiders.
Oh no.
Oh, the women and the children too.
Although sincerely,
Ooh.
that tiny little faded version of the Imperial thing, it's like just lingering there at the end of it. That is a nice touch. I'll give Attack of the Clones
good
that.
Yeah,
touch.
yeah, sure. We could cover Attack of the Clones on a Star Wars Down Day sometime in the future, but seismic charge, super. The internet loved this too. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
It's
great.
cool to see that. It's it was the original Holdo maneuver because using silence in Star Wars to great effect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
It's true, yeah. No. I mean, some of the best sound design. It's very iconic. You could probably play that without any visual cues at all, and people would know exactly what you're listening to.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of those Ben
Just-
Burt pieces of magic that's just like a perfect sound for that thing. It's just
Yeah.
Do we
so-
think that the sound of the seismic charge is what invented dubstep?
The timing works
do we
out.
have Ben Burt to blame for Skrillex? Is that what you're
Yeah.
implying?
I think so.
Somebody's got to be blamed for Skrillex.
Hey, what if somebody took this and just made it go, wow?
And then what if Korn did an album like that?
Oh no.
Oh, Korn did a dubstep album. Did y'all not know?
Oh, I knew. I never thought we'd get to the point where we mentioned corn on the podcast, but here we are.
Anywho's.
Life is peachy.
So yeah, that's I think that's pretty much the episode. That's the Believer.
Oh, we get one final moment after all this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right.
Oh,
We get the hologram
yeah.
message to Moff Gideon, where Mando basically repeats the threat that he received from him earlier.
It's basically
line
verbatim.
for line.
Yeah.
Yeah, line for line.
It's
replaces-
it's really weird that he remembers that so well.
Yeah, maybe he saved the voicemail or something and rehearsed it a couple of times.
There were significant changes.
Real
Like
Liam Neeson vibes.
he changes it in Moff Gideon's speech to he, which is a significant little change. And
Oh yeah.
you know, he will be back with me, as opposed to it will be in my possession within moments. But yeah, what a great, and like Gideon, like actually he didn't, Giancarlo Esposito is so great, but like it's a very nice subtle performance. You can see a little bit of concern, a lot of cockiness,
not
but
fear,
like,
but definitely.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I might have to deal with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might have to get more baby shackles.
You think any of the stormtroopers thought, we have baby shackles? Are we the bad guys? Yeah.
Part of me is hoping that Mando doesn't get Grogu back. Sorry, Baby Yoda back.
Thank you.
Just so we can go into next season, and then Mando can leave another hologram where he screams, "Give me back my son," like Mel Gibson in Ransom.
I wish he had a wife that he could pull a Harrison Ford with and just go ask everybody in the galaxy about his wife. If you guys have ever seen the supercut on YouTube of Harrison Ford searching for his wife, you should watch that.
I'm gonna have to now.
I do recall on Jimmy Kimmel the whole ongoing affair between Chewbacca and Harrison Ford guest starring, where he would scream, "She was my wife."
I'm just sorry we never got Tommy Lee Jones in the Star Wars universe as a character who just constantly said, "I don't care" to Han Solo.
Oh, that'd have been great.
Would be pretty good.
He can tell someone else he doesn't care.
That's true. Maybe Chewbacca.
We can still get Tommy Lee in a Star Wars.
I don't care.
Oh, boy. Yeah, is there anything else with this episode? There was another... Oh, you have a nitpick, Travis.
Oh, yeah. Well, just regarding that line, it's very interesting that both episode 7 of season 1 and season 2 end on the exact same line.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. George Lucas would be so excited.
Which line is that?
It's like the same scene ends the scene.
Oh, the speech. Gotcha.
The same scene ends the episode, I mean.
Yep.
It's a beautiful symmetry.
Yeah. Just like George would have liked.
Yeah. Because he was a real stickler for details.
He probably watched it at home on his complimentary Disney Plus subscription, just smiled to himself and was thankful that he trained Filoni as well as he did.
Yep.
I think everybody's
Padawan
thankful.
George the Jedi?
Yeah. I think everybody's thankful for Filoni at this point.
I think so too.
If Dave Filoni doesn't have a little rat tail, he's blowing it. Or whatever the Padawan
I think he
thing
graduated, man.
Yeah,
I think he probably had the
15 years ago.
I think he probably had the rat tail during like season 1 of Clone Wars.
No, I think he should keep it out of respect.
He might not be granted the rank of master, but he's a Jedi.
But he has a seat at the table.
Yeah. He's not directed a film yet.
Yaddle.
But
Yaddle.
no. All right, Travis.
Yeah, tell me about this. Tell me about this picture.
I mean, you can throw up the image. I don't know how well this is going to be on the podcast, but the I was just noticing something throughout the episode, and it's like an inconsistency I saw with Mando's helmet, and it's something I've never seen until this episode. And the T visor is very straight down. It's always been very straight down, but like in this episode, it pinches like down at the bottom in a few scenes.
Huh.
It's not consistent because the image at the top and the top center, that's from this episode as well. And then, and I, at first I'm like, and I saw in one scene near the end, I'm like, is this like a weird trick of the light? Is his head turned a weird way? But during my rewatch, I just saw it straight on a few times in like very well lit areas. So I thought that's interesting.
That is interesting. I wonder why that is. I mean, there's got to be. I would assume that there's different people under those helmets. I would assume that one of them's a stunt helmet and one of them's a hero helmet. Maybe the stunt helmet got accidentally in a hero shot, or the hero helmet was out of commission for the day and they had to use the stunt helmet. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe, but why wouldn't they be shaped the same way? That's kind of
that's weird.
That's yeah.
Oh, well.
I know. Super weird, nitpicky thing, but
Thanks
this is
for-
the first time I've ever seen that.
Thanks for showing us something that no one wanted to see, Trev.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Is this episode's guy in jeans in the background?
I guess so.
They're
Did you
gonna
guys
go back
read
in
that?
and-
Did you guys read that guy's not there anymore? They did, like, before the next week's episode was out, that guy was gone.
Yeah.
That
So
makes
sad.
me sad.
He's
We live in a digital
drinking
world,
the
y'all.
the Starbucks coffee cup and Game of Thrones heaven, where all those things go.
R.I.P. dude in blue jeans.
Johnny Blue Jeans.
I'm sure he's more than happy to put that behind him.
I'll honor his memory. If I'm ever in a Star War, I will insist that my character be allowed to wear denim from head to toe.
And a purple
You've got a very
lightsaber.
prominent watch.
Yes. Oh, this is my space watch.
Keep space
It tells
time.
time, but in space. Hey, there it is. Space 30. We have fun here.
We do. We do. So yeah, is there anything else about this episode or other Star Wars happenings that need to be
No,
addressed?
I don't think so. One thing I did notice as well is during their whole escape, they're sending stormtroopers and shore troopers over the side of the building so many times, and not once do you hear a Wilhelm scream.
That's true.
That's because they've actually retired the Wilhelm scream, from what I know.
From Star Wars or from life?
From Star Wars.
Okay.
Like,
I don't.
yeah,
Is it ever going to be retired entirely? I don't think
can't
so.
imagine.
Yeah, I can't imagine like every generation of sound mixers is looking for their opportunity to use a Wilhelm scream, I think.
Well, there
It's kind
was
of a rite of passage, right?
There was a scream though, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
there were quite a few opportunities to use it, but they never did.
And I
because-
feel like there were other recognizable sound library screams in there that
Yeah.
seemed
I'm
familiar.
just waiting
Still know
for
how he
Disney
screamed,
to
though.
start. Disney's got to start using the Goofy scream, right?
What is the Goofy scream?
Goofy scream would be
it's
good.
like
I
the-
would the
Travis?
Travis make it into something Star Wars.
Here's an editing project for somebody. Somebody take a Star Wars battle and replace every scream with R2-D2s. Every scream. So does every stormtrooper that gets shot every time. That's my idea.
Replace everyone with Yoda just doing that thing where he goes. You fall into your death, but you're real stern about it.
Or do a super cut of every time a character says another character's name. It's the Grogu.
I mean, oh god, the obvious gold idea: replace all the screens with McClunkies.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
McClunky.
Save it for Thursday.
Yeah, we got some McClunky to talk about on Thursday.
No, but now that you mention it, though, the Mandalorian is surprisingly lacking in some of the Star Wars like Easter eggs.
Yeah, I noticed
Don't have-
a Star Wars transition in this one. Like I think it was a circle wipe.
Yeah.
At the end of the episode, and I'm like, ooh, Star Wars. But I feel like we don't see that kind of stuff a huge amount in the show. It happens, but it's not like the level of the features, I think.
No, not at all.
That's a good thing.
That's it. I mean, probably this season, since they gave us so much stuff up front, there probably wasn't a whole lot of bandwidth to be as like, all right, what extra can we throw in the background shot somewhere?
Right.
I'm just impressed that Jon Favreau and Filoni have been able to hold off the I've got a bad feeling about this. Like, you'd think somebody at Star Wars is like, we need to get that. That's got to be in there. How will they know it's a Star Wars if it doesn't have that
If
line?
no one has a bad feeling about this, how could it possibly be Star Wars?
I'm sure they'll work it in at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, they're teasing us.
People had
We
a bad
got the
feeling.
Like My Father Before season, so maybe we'll get it next
Right.
season.
People had a bad feeling about this, like every other episode in Clone Wars. So
Yeah. They're slamming the
used
brakes
it
on
all
for a
up.
bit, letting it cool down.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So that's this episode. And so before we even get to cover the season finale, we are going to be doing another special thing. The Star Wars Holiday Special on Thursday.
Is anybody preparing notes and talking points for this, or?
I might still be drunk from having just watched it drunk. So I'll tell you that
perfect. Great. I'll try to put some stuff together that I think is interesting too.
I feel pretty confident with my familiarity of it.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with it. I'm not rewatching it. I've seen it so many times I don't feel the need to rewatch it. But I feel like I should go and just like make a list of like, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm educating myself on all of B. Arthur's work leading into it.
Full context. You're watching all of Maude before you watch the Star Wars Holiday Special.
There you go. You guys bring the bullet points, and I will bring the drunk pop culture references to other things.
Thank you. Help us contextualize the Star Wars Holiday Special within the career of Jefferson Starship, please.
Oh man, we're gonna have to have so many images and so many sound bites.
Yeah, during the entire show, I just want Dustin to just be continuously drinking through a hole in his head.
Just pour it right in the top.
I can promise half of it.
I might have changed my mind about this. This might be a bad idea.
I mean, technically, I can promise all of it because I do drink through a hole in my head. So, wish granted, Travis.
Oh man,
Ryan, you could say you have a bad feeling about this.
Tell you this much: it's not a good feeling.
Get us out of here, Travis.
All right, so until that happens, and you all witness us witnessing the holiday special, Alex, where can people find more of your work?
Twitter and Instagram at Alex Brunel, like that.
And Dustin, how about you?
DustinMeadowsComedy.com, which I drastically need to update. I'm on Twitter and Instagram and Twitch at Dustin Meadows. So
cool. And Ryan?
Hey, you can find me at Twitter. That's HARBJAGEN. That's Harbjaggin.
All right. And you can find the show streaming every week on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Reach out to us at whowatchespodcast@gmail.com and subscribe and leave reviews on any podcatcher of your choice. We appreciate all of those, all the feedback, and yeah, let us know your favorite moment from the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Do it. Talk about it with us. Engage in the conversation.
Do it or you're a coward.
It is better together, I'll say that.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine.
I can. I've done it.
Yeah, I guess no, that's true. I mean, I can't imagine revisiting, but so until then, initiate self-destruct sequencing.